places in the world where people think that the city has gone through a transformation and it's seen hard times, but really, there's many that don't know the beginning of it. And there's a lot of cities that had to really earn their laughter the hard way, and Helsinki definitely earned it. On May 27th of 1950, Linnanmäki Amusement Park opened for the first time on a hill above Finland's capital, and the day carried far more weight than a simple outing with tickets and treats. It was not merely the beginning of a fairground. It was a bright answer after so many years of darkness. It was a place where children could climb upward towards lights, rides, music, sugar, instead of downward into shelters. Helsinki, sometimes called the daughter of the Baltic, had known beauty, sure, but also hardship in generous and terrible measure. Founded in 1550 by King Gustav I of Sweden, the city began as an attempted trading rival to Revel, now Tallinn. Its earliest location proved awkward. It was shallow and poor for harbor ambitions, which is an unfortunate beginning for a town meant to trade by sea. Later, the city center moved closer to the shore, where Helsinki could grow with more purpose, though not exactly with ease. For so much of its early life, Helsinki was less a grand capital than a hard-used northern town. It suffered fires, it suffered poverty, it suffered war. The plague of 1710 killed so much of its population, and during the Great Northern War, after Russian forces captured the city, the retreating Swedish administration set fire to parts of it. There's a grim economy in that kind of a history where those leaving destroy what those arriving intend to take away from you. Helsinki survived. The survival is far from the same thing as comfort. The city's fortunes changed when Russia defeated Sweden in the Finnish War, and Finland became an autonomous Grand Duchy under the Russian rule. In 1812, Emperor Alexander I moved to Finland's capital from Turku to Helsinki, if that makes sense. This was partly to reduce the Swedish influence and to bring the capital nearer to St. Petersburg. Then, after the Great Fire of Turku in 1827, the country's university moved to Helsinki as well. The city took on kind of a new importance at that point, new buildings and new neoclassical face. It still gives it that centered, a clean, pale dignity of the city center that visitors of Helsinki know even today. Yet in the 20th century, there was no gentle peace. Finland endured civil war, then the Winter War, then the Continuation War. Then Helsinki was bombed during World War II, and the city learned the discipline of blackouts, shelters, warnings, and survival all over again. In February of 1944, Soviet raids came in force, and the city's defenders used anti-aircraft fire, radar, decoy fires, searchlights, deception, all to divert bombers from the heart of Helsinki. The effort worked with astonishing success, sure, but the memory of danger doesn't vanish simply because the buildings are still there. This is why the opening of the Linnanmäki in 1950 really does matter. It's not just another amusement park like another Disneyland or another Six Flags opening its gates. This was a civic turn toward childhood, toward charity, toward recovery. 6 Finnish child welfare organizations leased the land in a recreational area of Helsinki to be able to create this park. The aim was not only to entertain, though it certainly did that. The deeper aim was to raise money for children's welfare. From its beginning, the park made joy something useful. This is a rare and very handsome thing. Many amusement parks are built to sell delight. There's no shame in that. But the Linnanmäki was built so delight might serve children beyond the day's laughter or the day's squeals. The shriek from a ride, the purchase of a ticket, the spin of a carousel, the prize at a game. All of it helped to support a cause. It's hard to imagine a better bargain than a child laughing in one place so that another might be helped. Maybe their life might be saved somewhere else. The hill itself has a curious history too. Linnanmäki takes its name from Linnanmäki, which translates to Water Castle Hill, because of the two water towers that were built there. The first one in 1876 and the second one in 1938. Those towers remained a part of the place's character long after their practical use had changed. The older angular tower became tied to maintenance and storage, while the newer, more cylindrical tower eventually housed an indoor roller coaster called Linnanmäki Extra. There's something wonderfully Finnish about this too. A tower no longer serving water is not treated as useless. It's asked to serve astonishment instead. The park grew steadily from its modest beginning. What started with a leased area became an institution. In 1957, the welfare organizations formed the Children's Day Foundation, which still manages the park and raises funds for children's welfare. Over time, Linnanmäki became the oldest and most popular amusement park in Finland. It welcomed generations, gathered rides, restaurants, arcades, performances, theater, and eventually Sea Life, which is the only sea life center in Nordic countries. But if there's one ride that stands out as the old wooden heart of Linnanmäki, it's the old wooden roller coaster that I can't pronounce. I will give it a shot. It is Vuoristorata. Dorata. Okay, I'm going to call it the old wooden roller coaster. So the old wooden roller coaster opened up in 1951, and from that day, it became the park's great emblem. A wooden roller coaster is different breed from the modern steel roller coasters. It doesn't just carry riders, it reminds them through every turn and descent, and that boards and bolts and bravery are involved with building this thing. A smooth ride might entertain, sure, but a wooden roller coaster will give you testimony. The wooden roller coaster became the most popular ride at Linnanmäki year after year. And it's easy to understand why. It belonged to the post-war moment so perfectly. Here, fear was made safe. Speed was made joyful. Danger arranged with rules and attendance and cues. For a city that had known the real terror of falling bombs not too long before this, the roller coaster offered a theatrical fright with an ending that everyone could applaud and survive and walk away from. And that's no small thing. There's a psychological thing where sometimes people need to rehearse fear in harmless forms to remind themselves that fear doesn't always win. So the park also gathered gentler amusements, the carousels, children's ride bumper cars, monorails, towers, spinning rides, swings. Some attractions came and went, leaving behind the names and the memories like break tickets in a drawer. A carousel built in Germany in 1896 eventually became part of the Linnanmäki in the 1950s. Rides were relocated and renewed and retired and rebuilt and remembered. This is the ordinary life of amusement parks. They're made of motion, but they're also made of replacement. And then there was the Mermaid Hall. From 1951 to 1980, Linnanmäki hosted what is translated in English to the Mermaid Hall. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this one. This was a dunk tank attraction operated by Finnish fairground operator Lauri Stetera and his wife Johanna. Performers, mostly young women in swimsuits, were called mermaids, and they laid on these platforms above a water tank. They were shielded by a net. Visitors would pay to throw balls at a target, basically a dunk tank. If the throw struck true, the mechanism released and the performer fell into the water. Ta-da! It was popular, it was odd, and it was theatrical, and very much of its time. There's carnival mischief in the idea, of course, but also that awkward feeling that modern people might get when they read about something from the past, and it presents as wholesome back then, and we find ourselves maybe raising an eyebrow. In the 1970s, men were added as performers after a women's organization raised questions of gender equality. There's a dry little comedy in that resolution. If a public dunking tank is to continue, let no sex monopolize the soaking or the humiliation. By 1978, a Finnish women's organization another name that I cannot pronounce, sent criticism to Linnanmäki's management, arguing that the attraction was demeaning to women. So in 1980, the very popular, very famous Mermaid Hall was closed. It was one of the lesser known chapters that gives the place a bit more texture. Not everybody loved this, and not every beloved institution has a spotless scrapbook. Some pages are funny, strange, uncomfortable, and maybe a bit revealing. All at once. Mermaid Hall tells us how public amusement changes when public opinion changes. And that's why Linnanmäki's story is worth telling. It's not frozen in the bright innocence of open day. It grew and adapted and shed attractions and gained others and became more than the sum of the rides. A park that began for child welfare kept learning what kind of joy it wished to offer. The purpose remained, but the expression changed. The charity angle is not decoration. It is the heart of the place. Linnanmäki is owned by the nonprofit Children's Day Foundation, and the proceeds support Finnish child welfare work. Over the decades, the foundation has donated enormous sums. It's incredible what they've done. In recent years, the yearly donations have reached literally millions of euros, and the total donated since its founding has grown beyond 100 million euros in total. That is a mighty result from a hill of rides and games. It's tempting to think of amusement parks as frivolous, and in some ways that is part of their charm. They deal in laughter, bright colors, snacks, music, spinning machinery, and the useless foolishness of choosing to be startled. But Linnanmäki asks us to look just a little deeper. What if frivolity can be dangerous? What if a day of fun can also act of public good? What if the laughter of one generation can help the vulnerable children of the next? This makes the post-war setting even more powerful in a way. Helsinki had already been tested. Its citizens had known sirens, bomb shelters, blackouts, and discipline. And the strange patience required of the people waiting to learn whether the night would end safely. After such years, building an amusement park for children was not escapism in a shallow sense. This was restoration. It was a declaration that children deserved more than just the sense of survival. They deserved delight. And it was delight placed on a hill. That matters too. If one is inclined to symbolism, I confess that I am. Linnanmäki rises above the city, not far from the center, compact and lively, with views over Helsinki. To climb toward it is to rise from the ordinary streets of a place of noise and motion. From below, the rides and the towers offer a glimpse of something brighter. From above, the city is visible beyond the park. A child can look outward to see that the world is so much larger than a simple day's trouble. Over the years, Linnanmäki became part of Finnish family history. Parents who came as children returned as parents with children of their own. Rides changed, but the hill remained. Everything continued to draw crowds, but especially that wooden roller coaster. The Peacock Theater staged productions. Seasonal events brought lights and atmosphere. Even Paul Anka came to entertain here. The park closed in winter and returned with spring, following a rhythm that must feel to many is like part of the year itself. There have been darker notes too, as every long-lived amusement park has them. Linnanmäki has had 2 fatalities related to ride accidents, both of them involving the old wooden roller coaster and both linked to rider negligence. These events are sobering reminders that even managed thrills require respect. A roller coaster may be designed for joy, but rules exist because gravity is not exactly sentimental. Still, the larger history of Linnanmäki remains one of recovery, service, and civic action. It was born after hard years, built by organizations concerned with children, and shaped by a city that understood the fragility and endurance. It took Water Castle Hill, with its old towers and practical past, and made it a place where fun could fund care. That's not merely amusement. That's a clever form of social machinery. And so May 27th of 1950 stands as more than an opening date. It marks the day Helsinki gave itself a hill of purposeful happiness. The city that had seen fires, plague, occupation, war, bombardment. They made room for music, rides, children's welfare. That's the kind of historical turn that should not be dismissed because it happens beneath bunting instead of banners. Linnanmäki's story reminds us that joy can be a public work. Not every moment is stone. Some are wooden tracks. Some are old water towers with new uses. Some are ticket booths where coins pass from hand to hand and become help for children who may never know exactly the laugh that helped them. The park's legacy lies not only in the rides people remember, but in the aid that those rides have made possible. So the next time someone calls Amusement trivial, remember the hill in Helsinki. Remember a city emerging from years of danger. Remember the wooden roller coaster that turned fear into laughter. Remember the peculiar Mermaid Hall with its splashy lesson and how times are changing. And remember that in Linnanmäki, the business of fun became serious in the best way possible. It was not every day that history climbs a hill, buys a ticket, sends the proceeds back to the little ones. Now I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think places built for joy carry even more meaning when they're created after hardship? What place from your own life feels that way to you? And if you enjoy stories like this, make sure you follow the History Happens Facebook page for more deep dives into history's most fascinating moments. I'm getting a brand new camera and microphone this evening, so the quality will be improving tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Every subscriber helps, and you know how I love hearing from you guys. Thanks for watching.